A lot of people think that hydration is simple, just drink more water, right? Well, no. In the summer heat, that advice can backfire massively. Have you ever bonked mid-run? Have you cramped when you never cramp? Are you finishing your races looking 10 years older than when you started at the start line? It is probably not your fitness. It's potentially your hydration plan. I am Nick Hancock, Maximum Mileage Coaching, UESCA ultra running coach, sub-3 marathoner and ultra runner. And just a couple of weeks ago, I actually found myself on the podium of one of the biggest races in the UK, ultramarathon races in the UK. And it was 36 degrees at one point, which is almost 100 Fahrenheit. So I know a little bit about running in the heat and staying hydrated. And if you stay right with me, you will leave with a science-backed system to master hot weather hydration on your very next run, your very next race. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how much fluid you need each hour, or to work it out, exactly how much sodium you should need each hour. No more guessing, no more meltdowns, no more cramping. Let's get into it. So why just water fails? Two identical runners, one drinks only water and the other replaces water with water plus sodium. Who is going to potentially cramp first or experience issues as serious as things like hyponatremia? Been there and I've done that. It's not very nice. It is going to be the water only runner every time. A 2019 review by Huggins and colleagues shows that diluting blood sodium with plain water leads to, as I just mentioned, hyponatremia, slower times and even medical temps. This actually happened to me during CCC at UTMB. In 2024, I was having an amazing race. Fitness was absolutely on point. I was running super well. I unfortunately had to pull out because I drank too much plain water during the race. And I ended up slightly, which is still quite dangerous, hyponatremic, hands tingling, face numb, and was very unsteady on my feet. Remember that sweat equals water plus electrolytes. Replace both or your performance is potentially going to nosedive. Next thing is know your numbers. Here is a little thing that you can do today. You can do it now. Go, pause the video, go and do this. Weigh yourself naked before a 1 hour run. Okay, you might need to watch the rest of the video, then go and do the run. But weigh yourself naked. Do a 1 hour run. Try and do it in similar conditions, potentially to a race that you've got coming up. And then at the end of the run, go and weigh yourself again, naked. And every kilo that you lost is roughly 1 litre of sweat per hour. So if you have lost 0.8 kilos, then you have sweated roughly 800 millilitres per hour. Now the sodium. This is a rough way of doing it, but it is a pretty decent way of doing it. Those salt rings on your hat, your eyes stinging, is everything feeling very gritty, then you're probably quite a salty sweater. Taste your sweat. If you don't have that, crusty salt everywhere, then you are potentially not that much of a sweater or heavy sweater, and you could be starting off with a lesser requirement for sodium. There was a study by Costa et al. In 2015 that found sweat sodium ranges from 400-ish up to 1600 milligrams per litre. 1600 milligrams is a very heavy sweater, and that is why one size charts just fail. Personal data is going to beat generic advice, and that's why I'm not giving you specific milligrams per litre to go out, because you need to find out what works for you, and that's where you need to try these things in training. So step number 3, let's prime the system. 24 hours before a hot race, and companies like Precision Hydration, they recommend this. this sort of protocol. So keep your urine a straw colour, add a quarter of a teaspoon of salt to a couple of meals. A little bit of sodium is going to not just replenish any potential lost sodium through your training, but it's actually going to help you be more thirsty and therefore drink more of the good stuff. Sip 500 mils of sports drink with your meals in the couple of days before a race. And one thing that I do personally, and this is based on the recommendations from companies like Precision Hydration, is I will have a 1000 to 1500 milligram tab in my water, a litre of it in the day before race day, and get yourself loaded up. A couple of hours before the race, try and drink roughly 5 to 7 millilitres per kilogram of body weight of fluid, and add some sodium in then. So for a 70 kilo runner, that is about 350 to 500 mils of fluid, and then an electrolyte tab as well. The American College of Sports Medicine in 2016 confirms that pre-hydration lowers heart strain once those temperatures rise. So it's going to keep your temperature down. Your core body temperature is going to keep your heart rate down alongside the preparations that you've done in training. Hydration alone isn't going to do that, but with all of the other things that you've been doing in your training, particularly if it's a hot race, you want to have been doing some heat acclimation protocols, which I talked about in another video. So make sure you are hydrated going into your race. In-run hydration. So we talked about going away and measuring how much sweat loss you are going to be potentially facing per hour. It is almost impossible to replace every single % of your sweat loss, and really you shouldn't be aiming to do that either. The recommendations are roughly around about 80 to 95% of your sweat rate, and pair it with sodium as well. So if you're sweating 600 mil an hour, then you're probably going to be in the region of somewhere around 500 mils and 500 milligrams of sodium each hour. But again, try it out in training. What works for you, what makes you feel good, but stay hydrated. So let's get into some practical tips that you can take into your run. So something I do, I try and sip every 10 to 12 minutes, just small and steady doses. A really easy way of monitoring that is every time your mile or kilometer beeper goes off on your watch, take a sip. I do it every single time and it works a treat. If your race is prepared and they have, or you have crew, or on race day they've got ice on the aid stations, then try and ingest some ice. Actually, make a slushie, or get your crew to bring you a slushie. And there are studies that show, I think it was Stevens and co in 2017 showed that your core temperature can drop by up to ½ degree by ingesting ice. Get one of your crew to get you an ice lolly or something like that. It's going to help massively. If your carbohydrate intake is in the 60 to 90 grams per hour, you might want to think about alternating between plain water and your sports drink, because if you do get thirsty on race day and you feel like you need additional water, drinking just your carbohydrate drink, you're just feeding yourself more carbohydrate, and what that can lead to is gastrointestinal distress, which is the #1 cause of DNFs in ultramarathons. So think about, and this is what I do, is I have a carbohydrate drink in one of my flasks and non-carbohydrate drink with just electrolytes in the other flask. So that means that if I am getting particularly thirsty, I will take extra from the non-carbohydrate drink, and that really helps to control the levels of carbohydrate and hydration by having them separate. So do you notice here that we have turned I think into I know. You know, by doing that little sweat test, by trying things out in training, you are not just you're not just getting to race day with a bit of, oh, I think I should maybe take some sodium tabs every now and then. You should know what you're taking. So if you want your exact hydration, fueling, training and recovery plan tailored to kids, Korea, crazy temperatures, click the link for a free call, no strings attached, and we will have 15 minutes. Let's just talk, or just apply for coaching and we can do it together. But let's get back into the video. Cool yourself like a pro. Try and do some pre-cooling. An ice vest or a cold shower just before the start. There are studies that show that it extends time to exhaustion by figures up to 15–16% during the race. This was a game changer for me. I had a neck bandana specifically designed to put ice in the bandana, wrap it around your neck. It was quite annoying with the bouncing and the noise at first, but the difference it made during my last 2 races, which were both quite hot, particularly the last one, was massive. And if you look at Western States, that has just happened in 2025, there were runners, Jeff McGavro was putting ice down in his top, in his pants, down his sleeves, and it worked a treat for him. I think he was 4th overall in one of the biggest ultramarathons in the world in 100-degree Fahrenheit weather. With that, pour water on your forearms, faster evaporation than dumping it on your back. When you are running in the heat, a common mistake, and particularly on the ultramarathon I've just done, was a lot of, particularly the lads, the guys, were running topless. Actually, if you look at some of my race photos, you will see that I wore arm sleeves, I wore a bucket hat, this little beauty here from Goku Projects, and I was quite well covered. And what I actually did was made sure I was soaking wet. The wetter you are, the more evaporation you're going to get, and the cooler it's going to help keep you. Step number 6, so finish strong, recover fast. Your race isn't over at the finish line. Hydration, the same with your long runs as well. Hydration, drinking, 1.2 to 1.5 times the sort of fluid loss that you get per hour is going to be really key. So if you lose sort of 800 mils an hour, try and drink 1 litre of sports drink over the next couple of hours, something carby, juice, that kind of thing. Pair that with your recovery food, and it doesn't have to be complicated. 1.2 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram of body weight, 0.3 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, and a really simple one is chocolate milk. If you are not vegan, chocolate milk is a 3-to-1 ratio of carbs to protein. It helps to count towards hydration. It has electrolytes in it, and it'll fill you up, and it just kick-starts that recovery process really quickly. Some common pitfalls and quick fixes. So I talked about it in the video. Just try and have a sip. Every time your mile beeper, your kilometer beeper goes off, don't chug a full bottle of something at an aid station, because you are going to experience all of that fluid sloshing around in your stomach, and it's not very nice. It can be quite uncomfortable. So the fix there is just remember to take those little sips every mile or so. Remember to take 1 bottle with your carb drink, but then the other bottle as a 0 calorie or as close to 0 calorie electrolyte tabs. No carbs at all, because if you do get thirsty, then you are going to need to make sure that you're not ingesting lots of additional carbs as well. Another common mistake is ignoring humidity. Humidity is actually a bit more of a killer than the actual heat itself. Sweat can't evaporate in in humid conditions. So the fix is to use that neck bandana with the ice. Chuck water on yourself, get your hat wet, get your sleeves wet, get your top, you should be absolutely soaking wet. But make sure alongside that you are also covering yourself with lubrication, Vaseline, squirrel's nut butter, body glide, that kind of stuff in those hotspot areas, because sweat does drip into things like your ass crack. Again, let's just be honest. And with that sweat is sodium, and when it starts to dry and build up, it does create a little bit of a cheese grater sort of effect. Can you tell I've experienced this before? And but having that lubrication will help to mitigate that risk. So there you go. Let's have a quick recap here. Measure your sweat and sodium loss. Prime your hydration 24 hours and 2 hours pre-run. Drink every 10 minutes or so, or every time your kilometer and mile marker goes off. Cool yourself, not just during the run, but before and after too. Rehydrate after your training runs, during the runs themselves. And don't forget to get your carbs and protein in afterwards, super key. If you skip any of these steps, then your system's going to limp. But if you nail them all, and hot weather running just becomes a bit of your secret weapon. I'm talking from a guy here who was born in the rain of Wales. I have historically performed amazingly in terrible, wet, cold conditions. But by following these sort of steps, I found myself on a podium at one of the hottest days of this year in one of the biggest fields in any ultramarathon in the UK. So this is not guesswork. Let's get it right, and those brutal summer runs could actually become your superpower. And if you are ready for a fully customized plan, then hit the link below. Let's get you running faster than your 20-year-old self without feeling wrecked.